Hey folks, welcome back to HVAC Talk with Huff. I'm Huff. Today we're actually in the ASG lab. We have several working systems in here, and we're here today to look at the JB Climate Class tool line. But I want to first start off with the wireless probes, clamps, and pressure tools. And so the first thing we'd like to look at is the actual wireless probe. Now, so often, having done tech support for many years, we would get calls from technicians and we would ask for information such as return and supply temperatures, but we would also ask for return and supply wet bulb temperatures. So we needed not only dry bulb, but also wet bulb so we could see what's really happening across the evaporator coil. And so often we found that technicians did not have the ability to actually measure a wet bulb in the airstream, which made it very difficult sometimes when we're trying to really dial in and find out exactly what's going on in the refrigerant system. And so this JB wireless psychrometer is able to give us a lot of information. It's able to give us wet bulb and dry bulb temperatures as well as relative humidity. Now, there's a lot of wireless probes out on the market today, and we're seeing several different brands. And so the one thing that I like that JB has done is they have included a screen in their probes. And so not only the wireless psychrometer, but also in their pressure reading tool, as well as their clamp. All of these have screens in them. So a lot of the wireless probes today that are out on the market, you have to connect them to an app, which is great. And we're going to talk about the app that JB has out, which works really, really well with the tools. However, if you just need to get the information and you don't want to connect to the app, you don't need all the extra things that come along with that, and you just need these readings, then you can actually get them from the screen and you can toggle back and forth between wet bulb, dry bulb, and relative humidity. So adding the screen is a really, really nice touch. Secondly, the accuracy of these tools is pretty amazing. JB's done a great job in designing these. They are very, very accurate. And the more accurate we are, the better we do at troubleshooting, the better we do at dialing in the system. And so this is paramount to being able to do exceptional work. Another thing I really like about not only the wireless probe here, but as well as the other tools that you're going to see, is they give you these two bands right here, these two rubber bands, and you'll see there's a red and there's a blue one. And so once you have set these up in the app, then you can actually just use whatever rubber ring it corresponds with, whether it's a return or a supply, whether it's high pressure or low pressure, suction or liquid, right? And so by being able to set these up in the app, in the toolbox, which we'll show you in a little bit, you also, once you have them dialed in, then you just take whichever rubber ring off that you don't need. And so the next time that you go to grab your tools out of whatever it is that you're carrying them in, when you get them out, you ain't got to go in and turn them on and figure out which one of these probes it is. It has a rubber ring, so you know exactly which one that you're going to put in the return, which one you're going to put in the supply. And so it's little things like this that really differentiate these JB tools from other brands. Another thing that I found that I really like, and this may seem really, really kind of simple, but the fact is that I can change batteries with no tools needed. A lot of other brands, you've got to get out your little pocket screwdriver and take out a little screw that the older I get, the more I can't see them. They're getting smaller and my bifocals are getting bigger, so I really struggle with that sometimes. And so the nice thing is it's got a lock that locks in the door, and then you just slide the door off, and there is the batteries. So being able to change batteries very quickly without needing tools or having those little screws that we all lose from time to time, and it just snaps back in and the lock goes back in place, and now I'm ready to go again. And so a lot of times, you know, it's in the details that really separate tools for us. So I really, really like the wireless probe. By the way, the magnet is also very strong, as you can hear on that. Now let's look at our pressure tool that we're going to use to check our refrigerant pressures. Again, we got the rubber rings. We also got the screen. We could turn this on and we'll actually be able to read the pressure right off of the probe and not have to connect to the app if we don't want to. Another thing that makes it really nice is they have this angled adapter that comes with the tool, so that if you don't have the room to be able to get the tool straight on, then they have this angled piece that you can use that will then be able to, put it at an angle, and they enable you to be able to use the tool at whatever kind of angle that you need to be able to gain access. We know some of these service valves on equipment is very, very tight. And so this gives you the added flexibility to be able to go straight on or go at an angle and swivel in whatever way you need to go. And so that makes it really nice as well. And that comes with the tool. It's not extra. Again, we got the rubber rings. We got the battery compartment that's easily to access. No tools needed. The screen. But then we also have this port on the back, and you can see it's got a Schrader pin. Well, you might not be able to see it, but it's got a little Schrader pin in here. And so why did they do that? Well, especially for service techs, if I'm an installer, then I might have my manifold connected to the system because, I've pulled a vacuum and I've done all that. But when I'm running service, I don't have to carry a big manifold around with, a bunch of hoses and all those kind of things. I can take my Climate Class kit of probes and just be able to take one refrigerant hose and a tank, and now I'm able to charge the system. I would recommend getting a hose that's got a ball valve on it, but you'll be able to actually connect to your refrigerant tank, and you're able to connect here on the one that you have on the suction side, and you would be able to actually literally add refrigerant right through the probe without having to go back and get a manifold set. There's a lot of other folks of the other brands that are out on the market. A lot of folks are, they're using a swivel T, things like that, to try to be able to use these tools without having to go back and get their manifold. Well, JB thought ahead, and they actually made it a part of the tool, and so you don't have to add a swivel T, which we know sometimes leaks and cause other issues. It's all built in right in here to the tool, and so that works really, really well. Lastly, we actually have our temperature clamp to round out the series of our air probe, our pressure tool, and our temperature clamp. Again, it's got the screen just like all the other tools. They have these also, they got these enter buttons. All these have enter buttons, and they actually have menus that you can go in, and you could actually number this like T1, T2, so that they also pop up in the app that way. And then you make your rubber band correspond. If you're using T1 for your suction line, then you would leave the blue ring on. But you can go in and actually change the number of the probe. And if you're using multiples, let's say that you want to use a third one for your discharge temperature, right? So you want your suction, you want your head pressure, your liquid line temperature, your suction line temperature, and then you want to add in a discharge temperature clamp. You can get a third one of this and name it T3 and actually put it right on your discharge. And so then you would have a whole array of information, and it will actually read that in the app, and we'll show you the app in just a little bit. When we get done, we're actually going to connect this to a live working system we have in your lab, and going to pull up the app, and we're going to let you see that and see how it works all together within the app. Now, these all work with the JB Go V2 app. Now, the reason I say that is because that's what it's called, JB Go V2, and you can type that into your app store, whether it's Android or Apple. But they also, again, it's a lot of times it's the little things that people do that make a difference. They actually have a QR code, and that QR code is actually in all of the manuals that come with all of these tools, and you're able to scan that and actually take you right to the app. The JB Go V2 stands for version 2 app. Now that app is actually powered by MeasureQuick, and you'll see there's also a MeasureQuick logo that actually comes right in the manuals for the tools. because we have the JB Go app, but also all these tools work with MeasureQuick. Also, by the way, they're all A2L compatible. And so you're able to actually just scan the QR code, download the app, whether you want to use the JB app, which it's a great app. It has a lot of great information on there. You can take screenshots, upload that if you have some kind of electronic software that you're using for dispatching and things like that, and service tickets, or you can just take snapshots, save them, and add them to a file or whatever. But it's really nice to be able to get that information. And I could tell you that all the equipment manufacturers really appreciate being able to get the full scope of the system, especially if you call them and you need help. It shows that you went the extra mile, that you got all the right information. And the only way we can truly commission a system and know that we've done it correctly is to take all the correct readings to know exactly what the system is doing. And these tools by JB will actually help you be able to do that. And so this is the JB vacuum gauge, and there's a couple really cool things about this vacuum gauge. First off, it has a field replaceable sensor. You can actually pop this out and replace the sensor. Not only that, but there's also a filter in between where the sensor is located in the line that you're pulling the vacuum. And so there's a little filter in here to try to be able to, to help that sensor have a longer life. And it actually comes with 10 sensors in the box. So they give you extra ones right in the box with the gauge. And so once you put it in, then you'll actually twist this to lock it, and now you're locked in place. Another really cool thing about this vacuum gauge that I really like, and I'll try to get it turned on here, is depending on which way that it's located, right? I typically will use my vacuum gauge and put it on my core tool, right? We pull our Schrader cores out. We don't want to pull a vacuum with those in because it just takes a lot longer. And so we pull those cores out using our core tool. And depending on how the service valve is laid out, depends on whether this vacuum gauge ends up here, around here. And so it's just, again, something so simple sometimes is they actually made it so that you could change which way the readout reads. So you can read it out this way, or you can go horizontal and read it out this way, or you can go vertical here or vertical here. And so just the little things that they have done and thought out just to make life easier for the technician. And so just by pressing this button, you can actually change the direction that it's going to read to match whatever configuration you have. And so it's well built. Got these shockproof rubber stuff on it. And so far, this is the only tool that I've actually had to use a screwdriver on to change the battery. So with this one here, you actually do need to take the screw out to change the batteries, but everything else, as you've seen, no tools are needed for that. And so this also will read on the JB Go app, right? The JB Go V2 app. And so you can actually be able to read this vacuum right on the app as well. So instead of having to look down the gauge, you could look at your electronic device, such as your phone or your tablet, and just read that right through the app. And so this is a real nice touch. And then lastly, if you've been doing HVAC any length of time, then you've seen JB's four-way manifolds that have been just pretty much a staple in the industry. And so now they've taken that manifold that we've all known and loved, and now it's electronic. And with all of these tools, they have a whole array of refrigerants already programmed in them, including the A2L refrigerants such as R32 and R454B. And so this electronic gauge also has temperature clamps to be able to go and read your suction line and your liquid line temperatures. And so it has the 3/8 brute port for evacuation and the 4 valves. So this is a great four-way manifold that we're all used to seeing for years, and now they've just now added electronics on top, and has a great manifold, and it actually comes with hoses, which is also something we don't see very often anymore, that hoses actually come in the box. So this is a great manifold. It's very easy to read. And now this manifold, even though it has a full readout on the gauges, and I probably should have tried to turn this on before I picked them up off of the table here, but you'll see it pop up on the screen, so you can actually read the gauge here and see your pressures and temperatures, but you can also see it on the app. And so the app will also show you all this information. So again, another great job for JB. So I really appreciate the tool line that they have developed, and it's really great for the technician. And being able to use it with the JB app or Measure Quick just really makes it kind of a no-brainer. I do want to take a minute out real quick just to thank ASG Advantage Service Group for use of their wonderful lab. This is a live working lab where they test equipment and teach technicians and teach them. We take the technicians in from not knowing anything and able to bring them up to a place in the standard where they're able to go out and actually service equipment. So this is a lab that gets used a lot, and we appreciate them let us take time up in the lab to be able to use it for the testing of these tools and shooting this video. So hats off to those guys, and thanks to them. So we'll catch you on the next video when we have this stuff connected, and you'll see what it looks like in real time. All right, folks, we're back here in the lab. I got the system fired up. I got a 4-ton Bryant air conditioner along with an 80% furnace and a 4-ton end coil. I got my air probes in, both my supply and return, as well as I got my pressure and my temperature clamps over here on the outdoor unit. And you'll see a picture of that. Now, what we're looking at now is our JB Go V2 app. It calculates superheat and subcool automatically for you. We told it what refrigerant we have, and we profiled the system. Now, we can actually go and set our targets. And here is where we're going to enter what our superheat and our subcool targets should be. So if I go over here to the outdoor unit and it says I need a subcool of 8, then I would enter under this target subcool 8. That way it'll tell me, whether I'm at my target or not. And so we see our outdoor readings. We scroll through and we can see our indoor readings, our dry bulb and wet bulb on both supply and return. Now, it actually shows us our delta. It shows our temperature split. And if we enter airflow, which I'm going to do now, I'm going to say I remember the airflow here is about 1450. I'm just going to plug that in. And now it actually tells us what our capacity is. Now, it's actually a 14 SEER unit, so we chose 14 to 16 SEER with a TXV. And so it's a nice little app that gives you all the information. You can take screenshots off this if you want and be able to save that and upload that to your tickets. Now, I'm going to switch over now to Measure Quick. And so I have the tools connected to Measure Quick as well. And what we're looking at right now is what we call our grid view. You can see that I've already profiled the equipment. It says 4-ton in the screen. And it shows our temperatures and our pressures, both on refrigerant on the left side, air side on the right. Now, we could also go to gauges and see this view here. And the little green bars that you see on both the low and high side gauges, that green bar in there is where Measure Quick has calculated the pressure should be based on the information that it has. And so when we go to our outdoor measurements, I was messing with it. I plugged in 70 degrees. It's actually more like 60. So if I were to change this to 60, you actually see that the green bars moved. And you actually see that I'm really close to being where it should be based on this information. Then we see our indoor measurements. I'm sorry, that's outdoor measurement still. Our approach, in other words, how close the liquid line is to where it's supposed to be. We see our compression ratio. Discharge line doesn't show anything because I don't have a clamp on the discharge line right now. Now we see our indoor information. Return and supply, both dry bulb and wet bulb. We see the calculated CFM based on the enthalpy change across the evaporator coil. This is something that the JB Go V2 app does not do. It also tells me exactly what my dehumidification rate is, 1.5 pounds per hour at this point. And so you can see the information that you're able to get on here. It gives us both our sensible and our latent, as well as our sensible heat ratio, all here on the screen. So the amount of information you get is amazing. Now, at the top right, you'll see that it's got a warning up here, and it tells us that we have a low load on the evaporator, right? And that the evaporator coil might make ice based on those temperatures. So again, just MeasureQuick does an amazing job at this, and all of the JB Climate Class tools will connect. Even the 4-way manifold will connect to both the JB Go V2 app as well as the MeasureQuick app. Now I'm going to actually go and scroll down and get the report. Now there is a pro report that you can do, but we would also need to take static pressure on the airflow to get the full pro report. But you look at the report that you are going to see. This is called the Classic Report, and this is absolutely free. And notice that we get the actual time, what kind of tests we're doing. You actually get the geolocation of where we have located the system at based on our phone location. It's got our outdoor measurements, indoor measurements, as well as system profile, all done right here at the screen. And then we see our performance calculations. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. And so we see what the tonnage of the unit is. And when we see normalized, it says this is what the BTU should be based on the conditions that we have, both indoor and outdoor. This is what the normalized should be. And then it gives us our actual. And so this is an amazing report. This report's absolutely free. I could then email this to myself. I could save it as a picture. And you know, if you have electronic dispatching software such as Service Titan, things like that, there are some of those softwares where MeasureQuick will actually integrate into that. And we will make sure, if you have any questions about that, we'd be more than happy to get you over to those folks, and they could tell you what softwares they're able to integrate with. But worst case, you could just email a PDF and upload that to your software. And so all the readings that you would ever need are right here based on very, very accurate Bluetooth JB tools, as well as the software that is free to you to use. So again, just it's this Climate Class tool line is an amazing tool line. It does great things. And these are the things that we need to have in the hands of our technicians so that we're getting the most accurate readings we could get, and that we get the equipment running exactly as it's designed to run. And we can't do that with old pocket type thermometers and things like that. We need accurate tooling. And so here, a technician could put all these clamps in one little bag and actually carry it. And if they were to need to add refrigerant, again, I showed you the port that is on the actual pressure tools, and you could actually add refrigerant right in through that tool using a hose with a ball valve and your refrigerant drum, and obviously a scale as well. So again, we just wanted to show you the JB Climate Class line of tools, and to show you just how far things have come.
I would like to thank Total Line for providing the JB Industries Climate Class tools used in this review. Total Line has a full line of parts and accessories for residential, commercial, as well as refrigeration systems. This includes a full line of thermostats, IAQ products, as well as tools. For more information, pricing, or availability on the JB Industries Climate Class tools and other products, please contact your local Carrier and Bryant distributor.